to Skillshare for sponsoring this video. Okay, so these are the steps I would take to start learning photography from scratch, because you got to figure out the gear, your style, what you can make money with. The entire industry has changed over the last couple of years, so I'll try to explain how I would learn it step by step in this order, and maybe some mistakes I made, but how I would try to learn as fast as possible. So just for context, I'm from New Zealand. I gave up my farming job, dairy farming in Canterbury, New Zealand, to pursue being a full-time creative, making videos on YouTube and stuff like that. So that's how I fell into photography. I was actually trying to teach fitness online, and then I was looking for a camera for my fitness YouTube channel, and then I fell into this whole thing. I've always been a passionate creative. Real long story short is my camera broke the first time I used it. I saved all my money for my first camera. I had to wait a whole year to get my money back, so I started teaching on YouTube, editing the only thing I could without a camera. And yeah, 7 years on, 6 years on, we are still all about editing, and that's what I do now. But I have also learned so much about photography, had clients, have been able to capture things that I've surprised myself with the things I've been able to capture. And yeah, let's just get into what I would do differently, or how the industry's changed, because it kind of requires a different thinking process, from the gear to the styles to what you're shooting, especially if you want to make a career out of photography. Okay, so you obviously have to learn the basics of physically operating your camera. Shutter speed, ISO, free training on that, very in depth, very detailed on the basics, so that will get you using your camera. And then once you just know how to operate your camera, you have to start to understand how to shape the look of your image. Like, you can imagine a nice photo, but if you don't understand the lenses and shape in images, you won't be able to. You might see something really impressive in front of you, but when you take the photo doesn't resemble how great it looks in person, because you haven't learnt how to create depth in the lens. So I've also got a free training on that teaches like the right focal length to create the right depth to your image. Okay, so you want to start to learn what makes a pleasing looking image. So that's depth, that's the right aperture at the right time, to really, like, you know how to operate your camera, but you also need to know why you are choosing these settings to fit and get the shot you want. And this sort of stuff took me way too long to learn. But that's also free training. I break down lots of images on why these are good uses of settings in these scenarios to maximize the photos you want. So that's still very technical, but getting almost a little creative there. So learning how to operate your camera to get pleasing depth and lighting and lines to your image to maximize your subjects. Okay, so once you master your settings and you are now capable of taking a photo, and you know what makes a pleasing photo, nice depth, nice lighting, the right settings, the right aperture, the right blurry background. I didn't really realize photography, I used to think that was just photography, but photography goes much bigger than that, where you are actually very much a creative director. So anyone nowadays, cameras are so good now, the value of great photos is very diminished. You are getting very much hired, and people are getting followers and jobs because of their unique styles, their unique perspectives, their unique tastes, their way of shooting things, their brand. So you're very much a creative director, more so than a photographer. So what you shoot, how you shoot it, why do you shoot very raw stuff? Are you more of like a documentary photographer or a fine art photographer? Very staged. So don't underestimate, like, very big jobs. A creative director is a completely separate job category in itself. But the photographer, if you're a really good creative director and you know how to operate your camera, you'll start to get really great photos, because you have studied what you're gonna shoot, you have planned, and it has the right aesthetic that you're going for, that you want to capture. Okay, so I didn't know this at all. I thought being a photographer was just pointing the camera and like knowing the settings to get a nice looking image. And you are a creative director, so find great outfits that work in a great location. Design sets, props, all that, it all combines into a great photo. And this is really important because great photos over the years, I learnt, is a lot of small details go into a really great photo. So you know how to operate your camera, you know how to make a pleasing looking image because you understand depth and lighting, free trainings on that. There's a million different details that go into great aesthetics, like all these like crazy big brands, fashion brands and stuff. All the creative direction is like the main thing and not how to shoot with your camera. Okay, so that's the importance of being a creative director rather than just a photographer. So how do you actually do it? You need to get really good at organizing your location scouting and your props and your styles and your visions. So we all learn by imitating, copying, imitate before you innovate, copy like crazy, and like if you're a true creative, you'll get bored of copying at some point. Once you've mastered copying someone, you'll naturally stop copying and find your own style. So don't worry about trying to imitate people's work. Try to imitate it as much as you can. It'll teach you about lenses, it'll teach you about the details. Like one thing is not quite right, your image won't look like your favorite photographers. So where I'm getting at is like you need a really good method of collecting, like you're trying to improve your creativity and your vision for your photography. So you need a really good method of organizing and categorizing these ideas that you have for your creative visions. So on Instagram, for example, over the last 2 years or so, I've been saving every single car photo that I have been inspired by. If it's been a different perspective, I've never seen someone capture a car or a car and a model in this unique way, I'll save it, and I've got a catalog saved Instagram folder and then maybe an album on my phone, iCloud. I've just got so many different ways of framing cars and like models with cars. So another thing is make sure you consume a lot. So you're organizing this, what you're inspired by, but make sure you're consuming a lot of content. So I was not consuming enough, and in this way I'm getting so many different perspectives because in the past I was just following a couple of photographers, and whatever you consume is really what you're going to create. And I had maybe a little bit of tunnel vision because I was only following a few creators, and I wish I was following people that I follow now and that I'm inspired by now, but I didn't know they existed. So just make sure you're taking in a really wide range. So just following, constantly trying to follow new people. Because I was like I was following some people that were very content creaty or like documenters of their travels. And then I started to find more fine art photographers. So follow really talented people. Finding these really talented people is hard because you're a beginner. You actually might not really know what great work looks like. Like if you're a beginner, you're going to see average work and think it's really good. So you want to try to, as quick as you can, like progress. So after like 7 years or something, when I look at inspiration, I can have a good guess at what lens, what focal length, what aperture, and what time of day these photos are getting taken by. And when I was a beginner, I just had no idea. I think that really helps me because now I'm capturing all this inspiration everywhere I look on Instagram, and I actually have the knowledge of knowing how to recreate this. I love this photo I've captured. I'm going to try to recreate certain elements of it. I need my 35mm, and then lighting obviously plays a really big role as a photographer. So understanding lighting, and that comes with practice, trying to recreate photos. So yeah, don't underestimate lighting as well. So Skillshare is a place where you can learn all sorts of creative skills. You can learn just about anything from photography, productivity, video editing, graphic design, cooking, typography, logo design, learn Canva, or even how to grow a YouTube channel, I would recommend one of the many classes on photography or retouching, and go deep into lighting, get your portfolio reviewed even. So personally this year I've been diving kind of deep into film photography, so I really like this class by Kyle. I really enjoyed learning the fundamentals of film photography. So there's a link in the description, and the first 500 people to use that link will get 1 month free trial of Skillshare. So I'm forever trying to learn myself, and I find having classes and courses with a beginning and an end really helps me and helps everyone feel really confident that they have learned that skill, aren't missing any important details, because YouTube can be very scattered information. Thank you to Skillshare for sponsoring this video. So as a beginner, you will probably never shake this feeling of your work not being very good. You always feel like a beginner. I always, because I'm constantly trying to find work that inspires me. So this work I'm finding is better than my work. And it's all that I'm just consumed, like we naturally consume what's inspiring us. We feel like our work is always not as good. And you'll never shake this feeling of, I don't know, your work not being great. Always feeling like a beginner. A forever learning beginner mindset is good as well, because it makes you feel like you got to keep learning. But yeah, it's funny, you might lack the confidence because you feel like your work isn't great. But I don't know, I sort of wish I sort of knew that feeling never goes away. In terms of gear, if I was starting again, I would try to get just whatever is secondhand. So any camera will do really good, but in terms of focal lengths, this is still really important. I would get a 35 1.4 and a 16 to 35 personally, and then like some sort of cheap long lens, so maybe 100mm or 85. These 3 lenses, you're pretty covered for everything. So yeah, that's what I would do for gear. But Sony, Canon, in terms of cameras, they're all good. They're all good now, so don't stress over it. Okay, so editing is something I'm really passionate about, obviously, on this channel. So because like I said, my camera broke the first time I used it, and like that's why I went so deep into editing early on. So what would I do if I was trying to find my style of editing? Editing is like almost more important than shooting now, because that's where everyone is separating themselves. Like there's a lot of room to separate yourself in the editing, and it's not all about having expensive gear now. Everyone's got high quality looking images, but it's editing that gives that unique look. So editing is playing a really huge role now, and then that's why I'm continuing to teach it so passionately, because I think it is what everyone is after now, because everyone's lacking or the energy or a little bit of unique spirit or unique taste to their images, and you achieve that by having editing. So what would I do in terms of editing if I was starting again? I would also shoot film. So this is a film camera. I would shoot film and digital, and in terms of editing my photos, my digital photos, I would just forever be trying to match film. Pretty much has the best colors there are, and everyone pretty widely agrees with that. The colors are great, it looks so much more natural, and it is timeless. But I would still shoot both. Like I wouldn't just shoot film, I would shoot digital and film, and I'd just be forever looking at my film photos, looking at the digital photos, and trying to match them in the editing. The best editors are the ones that shoot both film and digital. So there's Dean, there's Cam teaching, there's Kelly Taylor teaching, and they all do this method of shooting film and digital and just trying to match. And that's how you do the minimal editing that looks natural, and it's not over edited. And like a lot of people over edit, and it's just a few adjustments to get that film look to your digital photos. Most people, when they message me about the course or learning editing, most of the time they're saying how to get the film look. So yeah, that's what I'd personally do. So making money with photography, I don't know this a lot because I've been full-time YouTube for the last couple of years. So I don't have heaps of experience shooting for clients and stuff, but a big tip is just post what you want to be hired for. Okay, so check out my free training on editing. It's really big and detailed. Editing is a huge role in photography, especially for beginners. So biggest giveaway that someone's a beginner is their editing, I believe. If someone just edits really nicely, they have a really great eye for color and aesthetics and style. Sometimes I have photographers that reach out to me and stuff. You can notice very quickly just like the cohesiveness of their Instagram, like how much of a trained eye they have for editing especially. So make sure you learn editing. I've got everything you need to know in a free training to get you started in Lightroom. So watch the free trainings, and then when you are ready to like find your own style, get really consistent edits and dive deep into color, that's when you can join the course. And that's where we like dive really deep into different styles. And then there's a lot of wedding looks. Everyone's got these unique styles to their photos. So that'll be linked down in the description if you want to go deep into, maybe you can't afford great cameras right now, but you can still master editing. Comment down below if I missed anything, what you guys think is the key pillars. Yeah, so that's it for this one. Yeah, I'll catch you guys in the next one.